The speech from the throne revealed what's on the agenda for the Conservative government ahead of the 2015 election. Some of the highlights include increased rail safety measures and new legislation to combat cyberbullying. Here to tell us more about the government's plan is Heritage Minister Shelly Glover. She is in Ottawa. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Marcy. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Happy to be here.
I want to start with the cyberbullying and what this new legislation would mean, and given your extensive background in policing, how it would bring and mean more tools for policemen and women across the country.
Well, I'm glad you asked about cyberbullying because we have seen some very, very sad cases, Ratea Parsons, Amanda Todd, and others. And cyberbullying, frankly, is something that the Conservative government is taking very seriously. We consider many of the things that we're seeing on the internet crimes, and so we intend to ensure that what you can't do outside of the internet that's considered a crime ought to also be considered a crime over the internet. So the cyberbullying legislation will come forward. This is a signal we intend to act, but the details will come out as the legislation is put forward.
Victims of crime are also getting a Bill of Rights. Tell us about that and how that will work.
Well, you know, victims across the country have felt very much as if they haven't had enough involvement in the justice system, and I know very well firsthand how victims feel as they go into the court system. They feel as if the balance just isn't there, and so this Bill of Rights is really intended to make sure that victims have a voice. To balance this approach, we needed to talk to victims, so we did cross-country consultations. The Minister of Justice was doing those all through the summer, and we heard from them very strongly that they want to have a stronger voice. So this Bill of Rights will give them that voice, will give them that reassurance, and give them some more involvement. And it will hold our offenders to account, which is something that has been asked for many, many years, and we have a strong record of providing that through many of our legislations in the last Parliament.
Ms. Glover, about a week and a half ago, there were rallies held across this Canada in support of missing and murdered Aboriginal women, including in your home province of Manitoba. Yesterday, the government said that it would renew its efforts to address the issue of missing and murdered Aboriginal women, but that is not the inquest that many were looking for.
Well, first and foremost, my heart absolutely breaks for the families of these missing and murdered Aboriginal women. I mean, we have hundreds of them that have gone missing over many years. And so our government has provided some measures to deal with this situation, including $10 million that was provided so that we could enhance some of the tools that police have. In my own home province, we do have a task force of RCMP and Winnipeg police officers who are working diligently at trying to uncover leads to resolve these cases. And that is essentially what is required when it comes to these very complex cases. But we have to work together, both the First Nations, the Métis, we all have to work together to ensure that we progress. And so our government has signaled again that although we've done some, we have more to do. We intend to do it through this next part of Parliament.
There are a lot of consumer-friendly approaches in the speech yesterday. Minister Moore, James Moore, the industry minister, was out a couple days before that speech happened talking about a passenger's Bill of Rights on the airlines and that would be a part of this budget. Any idea why it wasn't? People don't seem to have answers to that question.
Well, listen, Minister Moore did a good job of explaining exactly what we're hearing from consumers. Canadians are upset with a number of things, like the roaming fees, like not being able to choose channels that they want, and including things in the transport industry. So our government has been very strong on attempting to ensure that consumers have measures that will make it easier for them in all of those areas. And so he signaled, of course, that we're going to continue to work on that. But I was very pleased that the speech from the throne reiterated what we've been doing since 2006, and that is concentrating on consumers. And I might say that it draws a contrast between the opposition and us because we've brought forward dozens of consumer measures, including banning unsolicited credit card checks, including making sure that there are fewer days for holding in banks on checks. And unfortunately, the NDP has voted against every single measure. So we're proud of our record on consumers' agenda, and we're going to continue that.
And before I let you go, the last thing mentioned in the throne speech yesterday was the Senate, but it is top of mind for many Canadians. Is your government doing enough? How committed is it to get this sorted out?
Well, we were all very disappointed in what was occurring in the Senate, which is why our government brought forward a number, I think it's 11 accountability measures in the Senate before we broke for the summer. We continue to push for reform. We've been pushing for reform since before we even became government. It is imperative that we get an answer from the Supreme Court of Canada. We have asked for clarification so that we can move forward, and we either reform it or it vanishes. That is what we have stated, and we have to wait for the reference from the Supreme Court of Canada, but we intend to act.
Ms. Glover, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Marcy. Have a great day.
You too.